Hi, welcome to Hamilton and Hazen, Behind the Mic. Join author M.L. Hamilton and me, I'm narrator Kelly Hazen, as we discuss our latest audiobook. Born from more than a decade of award-winning collaboration and almost 100 audiobooks we've produced together, listen to the ins, the outs, the ups, and the downs, the inside track you love to follow, Behind the Mic.
This is Behind the Mic number 27. Hello, Kelly.
Hola.
How are you?
I'm feeling international today. No, I'm fine. I'm great. How are you?
Good. So this is sort of our wrap up for 2025, and also to talk about two of our titles that are going to be launched. One on the 28th, that's Black Friday. That will be our box set for the World of SAMAR, our third box set in that series. And then on Cyber Monday, we have the fifth book in the Christmas mystery coming out. That will be December 1st, called Escaping Enemies.
Yay! Just in time for the holidays.
Exactly, for holiday driving and road trips and plane rides and sitting in the airport. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the box set. This is our third box set in the World of Samar series. And it's a culmination of books. Is it 6 through 9? I believe so.
Yes. Yeah. Or yes. No. Yes. 11, 10, 9. It's 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, and 8. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also Escaping Enemies. So let's talk about the box set first, because that's kind of a milestone for us. This is our 6th title that we've produced this year, so we've been busy. And I believe it's the third title in the World of Samar series that we have put together. What are your thoughts about?
I just think it's great. It's funny where I can tell you are, and I know I am really harried. It's the end of the year. We're reaching the end of the holidays, or not the end of the beginning of the holidays. We're about to launch into the holidays, and that's always crazy for me because all of my family is out of town. So basically, Thanksgiving is like the bar, right? Things need to be ready to go after Thanksgiving for Christmas, right? To launch, get stuff in the mail for Christmas and everything. And so it was really exciting. I mean, we finished recording a couple of weeks ago on Escaping Enemies, and it's just really nice to be able to glide into the holidays. But for today, it's November 23rd. I know you're just days away from leaving to go visit family for Thanksgiving and visit your grandkids and stuff. And so our minds are like all over the place.
Yeah.
As for Samar, I mean, I say this every time and I will continue to do it. I think this is the one that we're going to be able to retire on. I think the quality of this series, this epic fantasy series, is so high that and it's so elongated. There's so much excitement, and the reader just gets to be immersed in this series, just immersed, like just right up to, you've got a tiny little reed that you're breathing. That you break the surface of the water to breathe the real air so that you can go back down and get back into the series. And we always like to, you and I always like to, we learned early on with these box sets that we want to release the next one in series that comes immediately after the box set, so that the people that have read, that have gone underground and listened to 6 books straight and come up for air and go, oh my God, where's the next one? Or 9 books straight, or 8 books straight. They want to 8 books straight and they want to listen to the next one. We want to have it there ready for them. So, it's also kind of funny because other thoughts is that I think, like, 11 months ago, I made the bold statement that we were going to finish recording SAMAR this year, and we didn't. But we're almost there. I mean, we've only got 2 books left, and I am confident that we will have those out in at least the first half of 2026, quite possibly, which means SAMAR will be finished in 2026, and I just think it's really exciting. I mean, I just love this series. And so this third box set is a milestone for us because we had a great head of steam and then we sort of lost it, not this year, but last year. I think we only released 1 in the whole series. And we're actually awaiting the review from audiobookraeviewer.com. We submitted it for review for Apostles of Eldon, which is book 9, the one after this box set. So that's how I feel about the box set. I mean, SAMAR just means, it's funny because I know how significant it is to you being the first stuff you ever wrote, but it has become, my secret love in
Yeah,
our relationship. So we each are attached to this series for, different reasons. And
yeah. It's quite the epic journey, really, over those books. And the only reason why we haven't finished recording it, it's such a major undertaking with the music and the different oral stuff that goes into it.
they're long too. They're just long.
Very long.
And yeah, and I don't like to stop. When I start recording a book, I don't like to take any days off. I like to record straight through. To I just don't like to break the flow. And that's, when a book is really long, I mean, that's like somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks straight work, no time off. And I know it's not, it's not 9 to 5 like a lot of people work, but it's very demanding stuff. I mean, you said it's epic, right? And it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, so yeah, I agree with you on that.
So then a complete pivot, almost diametrically opposed to it, would be Escaping Enemies. And that's our Christmas mystery series. This is book 5 in that series. And to me, this book is somewhat of a departure from the previous ones, which I think you said it best. We had a text thread going back and forth, and you mentioned that the holiday becomes more of a not the focus of the story, but more of the periphery around which the story is told. And to me, this book was very different. It sets up um, 2 very challenging cases for Everleigh and Isaac. And as we talked about, it's the tension. There's tension which has not been not present between Isaac and Everleigh in this book. There's tension between Everleigh and the chief of police, Thomas Riley, in this book. And there's even tension in Isaac himself, which we're used to Isaac being the easy-go-lucky character. And he has to kind of come to a reckoning with himself of his own, what he considers a failure. And that's a tightrope dance, isn't it? To have the tension there, to make it feel real, and yet not. I mean, I feel like the temptation maybe would be to tip over into melodrama, and so it's walking that balance line when you're narrating, to make sure you don't tip over into melodrama, that you keep it real, that you keep the tension ramped up. And sometimes the tension ramps up in this book chapter after chapter. Like, it's not, you don't really get a break from that tension. So maybe talk to how do you approach that when you're recording it? Because I mentioned to you, I on Tuesday mornings I drive 100 miles to take care of my granddaughter for 3 days. And so I have to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of the time I was listening to this book on the ride in, to take care of my granddaughter, and I would find myself completely immersed in the book and realizing that I had driven a lot farther than I thought I had, um, without even being aware of it, because I was so invested in this book. And the thing that stood out to me was the timing and the development of that tension and bringing that tension forward, again, without making it feel unreal.
I bet I bet that would be a really interesting, how great that we're sitting here talking about it. Um, I mean, I think so you as the writer, I mean, I was just listening to you pose this question and sort of give background for it or context to it. And you were talking about very specifically the plot lines that the characters are going through, right? And when it comes to emotional development of a character and the acting of it, if you want to call it that, the narrating of it, um, you can't play the problem.
Ah,
You can't, that it doesn't work. It doesn't ring. There's no authenticity there. People don't play the problem. They play it's the emotional response that they have to the problem,
right.
right? So, and it becomes melodrama when you play the problem, and I mean, I don't know if that's going to make sense to anybody. It's when I read it, right, you gave it to me. This was one of the ones we've had some sort of wild buggy rides where you've fed me chapters and I've started to record, and then it's been like, what? And not like that, but just, the development of it. And we both agreed that maybe it was more in timing than it was anything else in terms of you being able to continue to feed me the chapters so that I didn't break the flow that I was just talking about. I like to keep going. So you said, let's take the pressure off of both of us and wait until I have the whole script done. And that was easy to do, but when I read it, and I read it pretty fast, I don't read it so much like a fan. Particularly because we were on a deadline for this, with the whole wanting, you had said specifically, I think it'd be great to release it on Cyber Monday. And I was like, okay. And we did the production schedule. And it was like, okay, well, if we release it on Cyber Monday, then we have to give it to finishing at the audiobook exchange platform by a certain date. And which means you've got to give it to me by a certain date because it's going to take this many days to record, which means you've got to give it to me by this date so that I can read it. So I was reading it really fast. And when I finished it, I went, God, it felt almost like Johnny One Note, right? Because it's this problem and it's the same problem and it's the same problem. It's not like anything really changes. And I thought, wow, that's going to be really interesting. But then when I started to record it and I realized it was going to require just really being right there
Hmm.
as these as these as things get worse,
Yeah.
because it's the same problem, but it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And you have Everleigh, who up to this point, I think she's been living, she's got her nice little box that
Yeah.
she lives in, right? And she's living her little life. And then Isaac starts to shake things up, and it starts to shake a lot of things up. It starts to shake her job up. It starts to shake the way she thinks of herself and her job. And that changes the way she reacts to things. And then all of a sudden, she finds herself reacting to things differently than she used to react to things. And that kind of unhinges her. And that's a really uncomfortable place for her to be. And all those things I just described have nothing to do with the problem that you wrote.
Yeah.
Right. So that was sort of the opportunity, having been able for 4 books to walk in their shoes and live in their world. Because man, it's really just it's so interesting because it's so yoga. Right? It's to just be in the present moment, just be in the present moment. It's not about the books that we've recorded. It's not about where this book is going. It was just to be there with them in that moment, and each moment as they make their discoveries. And um and see how that truth rings. So
Yeah,
that was, and that is also the timing of it. I mean, you can get technical about timing, but if you can either be technical about it. I used to stage manage a lot, and there's two ways to call cues as a stage manager of theater, right? And there are literally stage managers who will have a stopwatch, and they have a point when they hit the stopwatch and they watch it tick down, and there's an exact point where they say go. And that means that cue is exactly the same every single time, right? And that's a very technical way to control timing. When I stage managed, right, you're in it with the performers on stage and they're feeling it. And if it's good work, they're feeling it differently every single time they do it,
yeah,
because that's reality,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and I would call it as I saw it. And that's how I record too. I mean, it's kind of who I am, and it's what I do, and I think it's what makes my work what it is.
There was one scene, and I'm struggling to remember which one it was, but I remember telling you, I felt it just, it was so beautiful the way that you recorded it, and I remember, um, you saying you recorded it multiple times. Do you remember what I'm talking?
It's actually one of the final, it's one of the sort of denouement scenes of the book. It's between Everleigh and the mother of
Right,
the secondary case.
right, right.
And and it, you know, and that the reason that it could take multiple recordings is because you had so many layers in there.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think that's the beauty of this book, is that, you know, and it just goes back around to what we talked about. Yeah, you can talk about the cases, you can talk about the facts, but you layer them in there. You know, this book is about mothers and daughters. This book is about um family. This book is about um failure and success in the workplace. It's about personal commitment. It's about so many things. And that final scene, the last sentence of that final scene, Everleigh's looking out the window, she's imagining a thing, a woman says something to her who she has dealt with as a client, as a victim, as a mother, as a wife. She's dealt with this other woman on so many different levels, none of which are talked about specifically in your book. You know, you leave it there for us to get. You know, you trust us as readers and listeners. And so that last, it was the last, it was the it's like the last drop into the pool of water of the concentric circles that are floating out into the stream of life. And so it required, you know, it could have been interpreted a lot of different ways. And I wanted to see what they all were until I could find the one that I thought best represented the end of the book.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an interesting book for me because, like you brought up, is Everleigh as a character is very much, you know, this is what her routine is, this is what she needs. And she's very by the book. This is the way the world works in Everleigh's world. And whenever in the previous books anything has battered against that, she has vehemently clung to that um
Structure.
structure. Yes, exactly. And in this one, and where Isaac is all over, you know, and in this one there was almost a role reversal for the two of them, where Everleigh was being more impulsive and things because she was so afraid. She was so um out of her element, so unmoored. And where there were times where Isaac was the one saying, you know, no, this is how this has to go, almost fatalistically. And that was interesting to whenever I hand you a book, you know, I always wonder how you're going to approach those things because by this time, by the fifth book in, you know these characters almost as well as I do. And then when you know there's a wrench thrown into the system, it's interesting to see how you adapt to that new layer.
I think one of the biggest compliments you've ever paid me, and you're good, you're a good boss because you are very supportive of me all the time. But was the fact that when you were driving, you actually said in the text thread that we were talking about, we had that you forgot you were listening to your book.
Yeah.
You were listening to somebody else's book, and that, I mean, that's really great. I mean, you were totally into just the telling of the story, not just the story itself, and that's we just saw we went to the movies and we saw Jay Kelly, the film Jay Kelly. I don't know if you've heard of it yet. It's Noah Baumbach, who is Greta Gerwig's husband, and Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie, the Barbie movie. And both of them who have written and directed small independent films for a long time. And she got major studio recognition with the Barbie movie. And now he has had major studio recognition with Jay Kelly starring George Clooney. And it was one of those, I've been thinking about that movie a lot, and I can't figure out if it's good or bad. I mean, it's very well acted, and but in the storytelling, I can't quite figure out if it's good storytelling or if it's bad storytelling. And I don't think it's bad storytelling, but it's interesting. It's there's the story and then there's the telling of the story, right? And it can be a great story told badly, and fortunately, I don't think we've screwed the pooch yet in that regard on the audiobooks. That's
Yes. Well, and I think the other thing we were going to talk about with this one is the fact that the tension could stay intense because of the length of it. I mean, these are typically shorter books for what I usually write. And so we could keep the tension ramped up over this shorter time period. When you have a longer book, you do need to give the reader some breaks, some downtime, and but in the shorter version of it, we can kind of keep the tension ramped up. And um which is more favorable to you, or do you have a preference in doing a shorter work or a longer work?
I just have to be in the right frame of mind to go to work on a longer book. And I mean, and I think you have such a good understanding, I think. Uh, there's the structure of the book and then there's the story. All right, here we are back at the story. And but you have such a complete understanding of both those things that it has to be a good story, but it also has to be structured correctly for the audience to be able to take it in, and giving them those breaks. The interesting thing about Escaping Enemies is that, I mean, you've always given them breaks in the tension. The problems in Escaping Enemies before the cases have always been outside the family. And it was very much, oh, here are these people in law enforcement, and they're going to solve this problem because they'd really like to provide a Christmas miracle, and I mean, and not to, cast aspersions on that or anything. It's beautiful, and that's the kind of stuff I like to read at holiday time. But this one was, where it happened to be holiday time, and the shit hit the fan. This thing happens, and you would give us scenes with people that we thought were going to be an opportunity to kind of relax. And all of a sudden, those scenes didn't go in that direction.
Yeah.
And it was, and they're, the guy in the archives, at the police. I mean, it's hard to turn him into anything but a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But the character I'm thinking of in particular was Roseanne Jacobson. I mean, she's such an airhead, and you expect, or you have that sense of her gold digger or whatever you want to call her. And then she turns out, that's one of my favorite scenes in the book, is when she basically,
She calls
talks.
she calls Everleigh out.
Yeah, exactly. Talk stuff with Everleigh.
Yeah.
And yeah, the timing in this respect, it was that it's that build. And I mean, I'm game for anything. I like variety. It was one of the things it was one of the things I learned. I mean, you get burnt out if you do the same thing over and over again. Just like if you work out the same way over and over, you're eventually going to get injured or you're going to get bored, right? Variety is king. And so I'm so glad that you don't write the same stuff. I mean, over and over and over, that it's not just mysteries or it's not just Peyton or it's not just, it's a great, and that even within each genre, you're willing to bend it, a little bit. And it's like, this isn't, Christmas mystery is supposed to be a feel good, I mean, ultimately, and you've always stood by wanting to write something for the holidays that didn't have murder in it
Yeah.
necessarily, or gore or blood or whatever. And then now we have escaping enemies, and you've really pushed that paradigm here. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to call them cozy mysteries because I don't think they're cozy mysteries. I mean, I don't know. You would know better if they're cozy mysteries, or romantic suspense or whatever. But this one goes outside the original limits
Yeah.
or the original rails that you put on this series. And you've always done that right around book 4, 5. You start to challenge yourself and your audience to go outside of what their preconceived notions might be based on where the series has gone this far. And I think that's exciting. And I think that's why you have the fans that you do, is because you mix it up. And I think that's absolutely what we find here in Escaping Enemies.
That's fantastic. So
Okay, we're done.
let's go ahead and project forward. So we're finishing out the year. So we're done for this year. And
Unbelievable. Yay!
so we are going into 2026, and we're going to be, let's project forward for our listeners. What we're planning to do. We know we have the last Zion Sawyer coming, and hopefully that should be pretty close around the new year. Not, I mean, it within January, February. And then, of course, and that will conclude that series. And
What?
have
What? Zion Sawyer is ending?
yeah, we will have a box set.
Are you going to let your fans talk you out of it again?
Well, they've talked me into another series set in Sequoia, but Zion adjacent. And then we will have we will also have the final book in our early cases for Peyton. That will conclude that series, and we'll have a box set for that. So we have quite a bit coming.
And book 10 and 11 in
uh,
World of SAMAR, and that box set. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books right there.
right there.
Yeah. So we know our intention in 2026 is to beat our total of 2025.
Yes.
Although it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
It is. Yes. Always.
You, little Missy, you said, and I don't know if you've been posting about it yet, but you said there's a new interesting secondary character in Zion Sawyer.
In Zion?
Isn't it? Oh, we're gonna have to edit this. I thought that's what you said. Maybe it's yeah, I think so. That's what you're writing right now, right?
I'm writing Zion, yes.
Or tertiary character, or that may show up in the
All
right. Well, pretend I didn't say it.
well, no, so we will be, there will be a new series starting sometime, hopefully 2026. I'm not sure yet, but we will be having a Zephyr, if that's what I'm talking about. There will be a Zephyr centric series starting that will be taking place in Sequoia, and will continue on with all of the crazy characters that are there. But it will be it will be centered around Zephyr and her journey.
Excellent. I like her.
Yeah.
She's fun. It's a good one.
All right. So, to all of our listeners, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, and may your new year be bright and happy. And to you, Kelly, all the best. And thank you
Absolutely.
again for another amazing, amazing year. And
It's been fun. It's been fun.
look,
And where we think we might go to Nashville?
that's what we're talking about. I even started looking up hotels.
We can't stop traveling together now.
All right. So this has been Behind the Mic number 27. Again, thank you, Kelly.
Keep in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and show up at our websites and sign up for our newsletters. We'd love to see you. KellyHazenNarrates.com, authormlhamilton.com.
.net.
.net. Oops.
.net. Yeah. All right. This has been Behind the Mic again, number 27, and we will see you in 2026.
Thank you for joining us for Hamilton and Hazen Behind the Mic. Visit authormlhamilton.net and kellyhazennarrates.com to join our newsletters for more insider news and views. Today's episode is sponsored by Phoenix Publication Services, PPS, Digital Shepherds. Let us ignite your writing goals.